Welcome to week 15. This week we're studying Edgar Degas. For this week you're going to need black construction paper, or you could use black cardstock, a pencil, and those oil pastels. So let's do a quick walkthrough. Let's put our supplies back. So we have Mr. Degas. The previous 2 weeks we have looked at, first week was Rembrandt. Mr. Rembrandt, remember, was Dutch. He was from the Netherlands, and he loved painting real things. We did the landscape, where we had the black and white with a boat, and he loved painting like real biblical stories. Then we had Mr. Gainsborough. Gainsborough was from England, and he loved painting things from nature as well. If you read the back of the artist card, you noticed that amongst a few items that he would take and make little sculptures of and then paint, one of the things mentioned was broccoli. So we had fun with that. And we said this B in his name stands for broccoli. So he would hide these little broccoli trees in his picture to help us remember that he loved painting the nature, but it didn't give him a lot of money. So he started painting people, but he made sure to put those scenes in there. When we painted Mr. Gainsborough, we did another landscape that had lots of colors in it and also had a boat in the background. So that's Mr. Gainsborough. And this week is Degas. He is from France. I'm gonna put some little notes right here. So Mr. Degas is from France. In school, he studied Greek, Latin, and ancient history. Sounds like he might have been a CC student. He loved copying the Renaissance masters at the Louvre. The Louvre is a very large and famous museum that is in Paris, and it's still there today. Later, he went to school in Italy, and when he was in school, he imitated, that means like he copied, real human forms like the models that he was looking at when he was learning to paint, but he also kind of departed from that and kind of painted things maybe a little bit different than what was actually there. For him, line and human form were very important. He loved painting people from the Paris town life. And he didn't stay in school forever. Then he started making a career out of being a painter. He loved light and color, and we'll look at that when we look at some of his paintings in a little bit. But even more than that, 2 hearts right here, he loved the movement of the human body. So that's why we see so many dancers in his works of art. So to help us remember Degas, the D in Degas for those dancers. He also would play around with photography and sculpture. And if we notice his portrait right here, it is a photograph. And so because the photography came around circa like 1820, so a little bit before he was born, people started playing around with the camera, and that was becoming something that was more mainstream. So there was access to take a picture, an actual photograph of him. So this is an actual picture of Mr. Degas. All right, speaking of those dancers, on the card here we have the title of this piece is called The Rehearsal. If you notice, and has parentheses, it says detail. That means that this is not the full picture. This is just a detail of the full work. So that's just kind of zoomed in. So this is what the full work looked like, his full painting. So we have the dancers sitting over here. We have some active dancers here, maybe the instructor, and we have the spiral staircase. So this is just called a detail because it's just zoomed in. We can see that his picture, his painting is balanced because he has these staircases and he has these dancers over here. But it's not like the things that we studied back like last year when we were looking at some of the Renaissance painters, where maybe they have like the Madonna and Child, and they've got like symmetrical, 5 angels on this side, 5 angels on this side, that they're really playing around with making the paintings asymmetrical. You can tell better in the artist card, because this is a better print, how he's playing here with the light and color, how he's got the light coming through the window, and how it even kind of dances off of their tool. And then we've got these beautiful intense colors on the dancers and on the instructor back there. So let's get started with our own. So let's get our black construction paper. And here is the picture that we're going to be mimicking of his. So here's one of his famous dancers, and just like this, the picture on the artist card is a detail. We are not going to be concerned about the background here. We're just going to focus on this one dancer that's here in the foreground with us. So the first thing we're going to need is to get a white oil pastel. We're not going to be adding water to these. Here's what we're working toward. It's like this. We're doing a detail of just this picture. So if you had other pastels, you could use that. I didn't choose to add water to these this week. I love the contrast of the pastels on the black paper. Okay, so first what you may want to do is to write your name on it, okay? It's not gonna show up very good on the black, but it's gonna be there, and then flip it over. My counter must have been a little bit wet. There's a little bit of mark, but we'll go with it. And then we'll start. So we're going to, we've got the dancer here. See if we can kind of get both of those in. So we're going to do a circle, because when you look here, we see the shape of a circle. Placement wise, we're going to be a little bit lower to the bottom, but it's kind of about in the middle. But we're not going to go all the way to the edge. And I'm just using a light hand to draw my circle. And then inside of that, we're going to do another circle. And this is going to start creating her head. We're going to have a line that comes out to the edge. When we get to the edge, we're going to then go up. And then we'll put another line over here. And then we're going to have this one kind of coming back just a little bit. Remember, he liked to copy things that were actual, but then also would modify that. He would depart from it from a little bit. So a lot of times when we see paintings, or sometimes even today, like cartoons, the way that the movement is shown in the cartoon or in a movie or in a comic, the human body could not physically move that way, but that's okay. So if you're like, we couldn't do that, it's okay if it's not exact. Okay, then let's get the two legs in. We've got a leg coming out the back, and then one that she's standing on. So we're gonna come over here, and we're going to go out, and we can put a small rectangle on that. And then let's come down, and this one, if we've got her head, we're gonna come a little bit over, and that one's down, and we can put a small rectangle on that one that's kind of pointing to the side. For the hands, we could do more of the size of like a triangle, and the same thing here. Now at this point, we're going to add in the flesh tones, and then we're going to layer the colors of the dress. Or maybe it's not a dress. I have 4 boys, and so I'm not sure what all of the costume, I don't know. Y'all can put in the comments below what it's called. I'm not sure. Okay, so choose whatever appropriate flesh tone you would like to use, and you can even combine. I've put a little bit of both. And if it gets down to where you can't do it, just rip the paper off. You can even break these in 2 if you need to divide them up with a friend. Okay, so we're going to do the color in that circle. And we're gonna color the arm, and we're gonna make it thicker the closer it is to the body, and it's going to get thinner. And then color in the hand. You can kind of smooth it out to connect to the body. We're not showing a lot of detail. We can tell that this is her face, but there's not a lot of detail as far as like pupils and that kind of stuff. So we are just mimicking the great artist just like he did, and practicing a little bit thicker closer to the circle, and then I'm getting a little thinner. If you need to have an adult put some dots down here for you to connect, that is perfectly fine. Just kind of round that out. All right, and then, excuse me. And then let's give a little bit more color underneath here, where we're probably seeing a little bit of like her shoulders and her neck. And then we need to do her legs. So same thing, it's gonna be thicker. That one just broke, thicker at the top, and then thinner as it gets down to like her ankle. And then if you'd like to put like a colored ballet slipper, then you can leave that. We don't color that in. Okay, so we've got all the flesh tone on there. If you you can put some a little darker on top for like shadows, but depending on the level, you can just leave it like it is. It's okay. All right. Then let's make her face stand out a little bit more. See how I've got a little bit of difference between her neck and her face. So I'm going to put a little bit darker. And again, depending on what level, if this is for a younger student, then I would probably just do the head and not worry about doing the neck and shoulders and that such. Kind of round those out, just keep layering. Okay, you can kind of fill that in a little bit. And then we need to give the hair. Okay, now let's choose what color hair we're going to give. I did a darker color here. Maybe we'll do a lighter color for this gal. All right, I did learn the difference between a ballerina and a ballerino. My youngest son is taking dance, and I learned that a male dancer is a ballerino. Okay, so for the hair, let's talk about the hair. Our hair does not stand, like a ballerina's hair is on anybody's, our hair is on our head. Now her bun up here is standing above like her scalp, but we want to get her hair on her body, on her head. So we're going to do like a half circle right there. And then we can put a bun on top. Let's put a little bit of that cream underneath to help this yellow stand out. And then maybe let's put some other yellows in there, so the bun can come off the top, like so. But everything else is actually on the head. Look at your head in the mirror, or your neighbors or your friends, that their hair is on their head. It's not, so once you draw their head, don't have their head floating up here in the air. Okay, now we're going to be adding the tool. And you have the freedom to use whatever colors you would like. Since we're using this dark paper, I'm going to use a white, and I'm going to do lines coming out because I want the movement to be showing that it's coming out. It's okay that they're coming off this circle. When we were doing last week's project, I was like, kind of color like you think you probably did when you were like 2. Like, this doesn't have to look precise. I don't want you to have it all the way colored in. We need to show the movement in there. Okay, so now we have this base layer of white, and we can go all right up to the skin. So now you need to choose what color you want to make the, like I said, skirt, or those are both the same color. I think we're gonna do something more in the pink fuchsia family. This one is definitely more in the blues, and that's what I did there, but just showing you that you can do other options. So you can color right up here. We can put like a little strap over the shoulder like that. So this is like a letter U that goes around her neck to kind of show. It's like we're high above her. And I'm just gonna go over where the white area is. And maybe we go around to make sure we have a nice line. And let these colors mix together. Like so. And I would say a base layer, and then you need to choose at least 2 colors that look good together, which need to be, don't choose black, don't choose brown, but 2 kind of vibrant colors. And go with that. Now, if you would like to use water and blend these like we have in the past, you can. It depends on your time and what you would like to do. All right, so there's our dancer. By the end of it, I would say you want to make sure that you've covered up all the black area of the skirt, if you can. And that they may be like, I'm done. Well, make sure you've got all of the area covered up, and you can even go back. You can get that darker one and go back on top of it. And there's a lighter pink. Where is it? There it is. On his, they've got these, some kind of decoration and embroidering little details. And so you could come in here and pop in just some little dabs. Maybe we put a little bright like sash around her right there. Like so. All right, while we have this pink in our hand, let's do her shoes. So I'm gonna give her a layer of white, and then I'm going to do, remember we did this rectangle down here, and then maybe we put an X on the top to show how it's attached, like so. All right, and then we're gonna do a little detail on the face, and that's where our pencil comes back in, and we're gonna kind of etch out a face on her. All right, so we're going to first do our eyes, and we can just do little lines like this, kind of like, it's not a smiley face, it's a not a frowny face, just some little lines. We could do a half triangle for her nose, and then we can give some bumpy lines for her lips. If you like yours the way that it is before this, then you can just leave it. You don't have to add them on there, okay? And if you're like, I messed up, well, then take your oil pastel and you can layer it back on top, ta-da! And you can try again and do something different, okay? All right. If I set it to the side like this, you see how I kind of move that up? And it makes it look like her head is looking more to the side, like so. Maybe see part of her ear. Okay, so there is Mr. Degas D for the dancers, and he loved lines and movements. And this may not be your most favorite subject to study, but studying how to do proportions and the movement of humans, you could apply this to any other type of subject that you would like to draw. So look for other things that you enjoy, maybe a comic book or something, and look how they've drawn things, and then you can replicate that with this. All right. Thanks for tuning in with Art with Allie, and have fun creating your Edgar Degas ballerinas.